Level 1. The book that costs you everything. You buy it secondhand for $4. The spine is cracked. Someone underlined things in pencil and then erased the underlines, which tells you they changed their mind about what mattered. You read it in a single sitting in your car outside a grocery store because your apartment has one room and your roommate is home and you need silence for this. The book is about compounding, not the word, the reality of it. You do the math on a napkin in the cup holder. $5,000 at 25, left untouched at 10% annual return, becomes $226,000 by the time you are 65. You read that sentence again. You have $5,000. It is sitting in a checking account earning 0.01%. You have been meaning to do something with it for 14 months. You move it the next morning, not into something complicated. An S&P 500 index fund, expense ratio 0.03%, the most boring instrument available. You tell no one. There is nothing to tell. You pressed 4 buttons and the money disappeared from one account and appeared in another, and the total amount of your life that is visible to other people has not changed at all. What has changed is something you cannot show anyone. A clock started. You did not start it. You just stopped stopping it. Your friend Derek calls that weekend to tell you about a stock he's been watching, a lithium company in Nevada, ground floor opportunity. His cousin works in the sector. You say you'll think about it. You don't think about it. Derek buys $3,000 worth. 6 months later, the stock is down 61%, and Derek stops mentioning it. You never mention it either. That silence between you is the first thing the rules cost you. Not money, but the specific ease of a friendship where you both wanted the same things and neither of you had a reason to diverge yet. The $5,000 becomes $5,490 in the first year. You add $400 a month. You stop eating lunch out 4 days a week, not as punishment, as arithmetic. The $400 comes from somewhere, and that somewhere is 11 lunches a month that you now eat at your desk from a bag you packed at 7 a.m. You don't miss the lunches. You miss the leaving, the 10 minutes of walking somewhere, the transaction, the brief conversation with the person behind the counter who knew your order. You did not know you would miss that. You file it under acceptable. Level 2. The geometry of saying no. You are 28. The account has $31,000 in it. You have told approximately 4 people this number, and all 4 responded in ways that surprised you, not with interest, with a specific unease, as if the number implied a judgment about how they were spending their own money. You stop telling people. You get a raise to $67,000. Your rent is $1,140. Your car is paid off. It is 6 years old and needs new tires, and you buy the tires and keep the car. A coworker named Priya gets a new car, a lease, $520 a month, and she asks if you want to see it in the parking lot, and you go look at it with her and say the right things. On the drive home, you run the numbers in your head without deciding to. $520 a month for 36 months is $18,720 in payments for an asset she will not own at the end. You don't say this. You have learned that the math is always available and almost never welcome. Buffett said the first rule is never lose money. You have held that rule for 3 years, and it has shaped you in ways that have nothing to do with money. You have stopped making decisions that feel good in the moment and cost you something invisible later. The weekend trip you didn't take, the gadget you didn't buy. Each one felt like restraint at the time. Together, they feel like something else, a direction, a pressure applied consistently in one orientation, a slow bending of the arc of your life towards something that doesn't have a visible shape yet. Your girlfriend at the time, a woman named Claire, who is generous and funny and spends money the way she breathes, without tracking it, without guilt, without the particular vigilance you have developed, asks you why you never want to do anything spontaneous. You say you do want to. She says it doesn't feel that way. You don't have a clean answer. What you have is a spreadsheet that you have updated every month for 3 years, and a number that is growing, and a patience that has calcified into something that looks from the outside like caution and feels from the inside like clarity. You and Claire stopped dating 4 months later. Not because of money, because of what money revealed, that you were building towards something she couldn't see and didn't want to wait for, and that you could not explain it in a way that made the waiting feel worth it, and that both of those things were true simultaneously, and neither of you was wrong. The account hits $47,000 the month after she leaves. You update the spreadsheet. You note the date. You don't note anything else. Level 3. Compound interest has no audience. You are 31. The account is $89,000. You have added a second account, a Roth IRA, maxed annually, $7,000 a year, after-tax dollars that will never be taxed again on their way out. The math on this is so favorable, it feels like an error the first time you model it. It is not an error. It has been in the tax code since 1997. Most people either don't know it exists or know it exists and don't use it, because $7,000 a year feels like too much to lock away until 59 and a half, when 59 and a half feels like a foreign country. You read every Berkshire Hathaway shareholder letter from 1965 forward. Not once. You read them the way someone returns to a piece of music, not to extract information, but to recalibrate. Buffett writes about businesses the way other people write about people they love, with attention to character, to consistency, to the gap between what something says it is and what it actually does under pressure. You start reading companies the same way, not their stock price, their 10K, their cash flow, their debt, the footnotes at the back that most people never reach. You buy your first individual stock at 32, Coca-Cola, not because it's exciting, because it's the opposite of exciting. It sells the same product in the same packaging to the same number of people every year with a consistency that has survived 2 world wars and 12 recessions and the invention of every competing beverage category. The yield is 3.1%. The price has compounded at roughly 9% annually for 60 years. You buy $8,000 worth and feel nothing in particular, and that nothing is exactly right. Your colleague Marcus asks what stocks you're watching. You say Coca-Cola. He laughs. Not cruelly, genuinely, the way someone laughs at a joke they didn't see coming. He's watching a semiconductor company that just announced a partnership with a defense contractor. You nod. You don't say anything. Marcus's semiconductor company is up 40% 3 months later. He tells you about it at lunch with a generosity that is almost painful. He genuinely wants you to have been in it with him. You smile. You don't explain that you were never going to buy it, not because it was wrong, but because you can't hold something you don't understand through a 30% drop, and you couldn't have told him with confidence what the company's moat was. And without that, you'd have sold it at the first dip and turned a 40% gain into a 12% gain and a lesson. You keep this to yourself. The rules are not portable. They only work if you believe them, and belief is not something you can hand to someone at lunch. Level 4. The invisible machine. You are 38. The combined accounts, brokerage, Roth, 401k maxed for 6 years, hold $340,000. The number grew while you were doing other things, while you were sleeping, while you were in meetings. While you were driving to see your parents on holidays, the machine was running. $340,000 at 10% average annual return generates $34,000 in a year without a single additional contribution. You made $34,000 from nothing, from waiting, from 11 years of packed lunches and saying no and updating a spreadsheet that no one has ever asked to see. You are not rich. You are not close to rich in any way that the word is used publicly. But you have built something that did not exist when you were 25, and that exists now regardless of what you do next. And that regardless is a kind of freedom you didn't have language for at 25 and still struggle to explain now. Buffett's second rule: never forget Rule 1. You have held $340,000 through a 34% market crash in 2022 without selling a single share. Not because you were fearless, because you had read enough history to know that every crash in recorded market history had been followed by recovery. And because you had structured your life so that you didn't need the money. And because needing the money is the mechanism by which most people are forced to sell at the bottom and miss the recovery. The structure held because you built the structure at 25 when you didn't need it, and so it was there at 38 when you did. You tell your brother this when he calls you in March of 2022, panicked, asking if he should sell. You say, "What do you need the money for?" He says, "Nothing immediate." You say, "Then leave it." He leaves it. By December, he has recovered. He calls you and says you were right. You say, "The math was right." He says, "Same thing." You don't correct him, but it isn't the same thing. Level 5. What the rules take. You are 45. The accounts total $890,000. You are 11 months from 7 figures, and you know it. And it means less than you thought it would. And you have known for about 3 years that it would mean less than you thought. And you still thought it would mean more. What you have is not what you imagined at 25. What you imagined at 25 was arrival, a specific feeling of having gotten somewhere, of the math resolving into something that felt like freedom in the version of freedom you pictured when you were young, which involved other people seeing it. This does not involve other people seeing it. Your net worth is not visible. It doesn't change how people talk to you. The barista at the coffee shop you've gone to for 4 years doesn't know. Your manager at work doesn't know. Your mother knows there's money, but not how much. And when you tried to explain it once, she said that's wonderful and changed the subject because the number was too abstract to hold. You have built something real, and you have built it in a language most people around you don't speak. And that gap between what you've built and what is legible to the people you love is the cost that doesn't appear in any spreadsheet. Buffett has lived in the same house in Omaha since 1958. You used to read that as a quirk. Now you read it as information. The house is not modesty. The house is the refusal to let the number change who you are faster than you can track the change. The house is the anchor. You have your own version of the house. The same car, now 12 years old. The same apartment you moved into at 33. The same packed lunches. And it is not deprivation. It is the structure that kept you the same person across 20 years of a number growing in the background. And staying the same person across 20 years of that is harder than any single financial decision you ever made. Level 6. The long view has no celebration. You are 52. The accounts crossed $1.4 million last year. You noted it. You updated the spreadsheet. You went to bed at the usual time. Your nephew is 24. He calls you in August, the same month you bought your first index fund 27 years ago, and he says he has $6,000 saved, and he wants to do something with it. And he's been watching videos about options trading. You tell him to open a brokerage account. You tell him to buy a total market index fund. You tell him to set up an automatic transfer for whatever he can afford every month and to not look at it for 10 years. He says, "That's it?" You say, "That's it." He is quiet for a moment in the way that you were quiet 27 years ago in your car, in a parking lot, with a napkin and a number that didn't feel real yet. He wants there to be more, a system, a strategy, a sequence of steps that feels proportional to how much he wants the outcome. The simplicity feels like an insult to the wanting. You don't explain this. You just say, "The boring part is the part that works." He thanks you. You don't know if he does it. You think about calling to check. You don't call. You make coffee. You sit at the kitchen table with the mug your mother gave you the year you moved into this apartment. White ceramic, a small chip on the handle you've never had repaired. Outside the window, the city is moving. It doesn't know about the spreadsheet. It doesn't know about the 27 years, or the packed lunches, or Claire, or Derek's lithium stock, or the crash you held through without selling. The machine is still running. You drink the coffee. That's all there is. That's all there ever was.